Okay, evening parts, and welcome to TFC Live, Season 3, Episode 5. This is the Bounty 6 review, and this week's update, including the FM Tier 4 change as well. I'll say hi to the admins first. Robin, good evening. How are you?
Hey, doing well, thanks.
Good. Ren's in the house. Hey, bud.
Yeah!
Okay, if you've still got any eardrums left. Hey, George, how you doing?
Good evening. See, I actually had my thing turned down just for that.
I took my headphones off just then because I knew you'd do that. And welcome to all those on the live chat. There's quite a few people in there. Ford's in there doing some modding. I'm not sure who else is at the moment. That's about it. Right. Not a huge amount for this week's update, which is quite handy because obviously there's been some there has been some interesting developments with the release of the first Tier 7 hull, particularly about deflection and bypass and that sort of stuff. But we'll go through and nip through some of the slides, and we're going to start with the Bounty review first, and then we'll go through the updates, and then we'll have a little look at that little bit that GDR's put up on the BP forum. Anyway, there's the first one. Let's move forward straight away. That's what we're going to go through tonight. Just scan your eyes over that. Okay. Over to Robin.
Hey. Okay. Not a huge amount of changes for Bounty 6.0. Just one point I did want to say, I did appreciate the split notice at the front where Rampage put out kind of like a skinny notice with all the pertinent changes that occurred for Bounty, and then the primer kind of in a second notice so that you didn't have to hunt down through everything to find that out. So I kind of like that. Just in general, I did see more base hitting this event. I'm not sure if that was as a result of the TAC mod changes or if it's just because we had gangs in our world, but I did see a lot of really good base hits out there. I spent about an hour late one night just watching people trying to hit some of the higher players that were in there, and there was some interesting fleet combinations and some really good driving that was out there. We still kind of had a bit of the forced reliance on the occupied bases. Part of that was due to you either had no targets in your sector or out of your sector showing up on the locator, and also because there was such a high amount of points required just to get the new prizes. I think it was about 95,000 for 95,000 to go ahead and get all of the top prizes. As said, people were having some issues with finding some targets. I know there was some time periods there where I felt like I was the only person that had bounty that was available, and then there were other periods where I couldn't find anybody either using the leaderboard. So there were some issues there, and we've talked about this just about every time that we've had this, and I'm just imploring Kicks to please take a look at the locator. If you bank your bounty, you end up, I think at one point I counted 37 targets and they were all in my sector. So if there's a way to split that out, can we please take a look at that? Because it is very, very hard having to spend a whole lot of time trying to find targets that are out of your sector.
I didn't have anybody on my locator since, I think, Friday afternoon.
Because you're such an overachiever.
Apparently. First time I've overachieved in all these bounties.
Oh, I'd have come visit you, except you weren't in my world. The jackpot bases, there was a couple. For one drop on Thursday, we had 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then 1 on Sunday. There were better spawn rates. They kind of, I actually think this was probably the best out of all of them so far. There were some red and yellow areas depending on where you were at, but it kind of, at least from my perspective and from what I heard and saw from people, that everybody kind of had an opportunity. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've said amber simply because obviously people in the States, particularly on the on that coast side there where Kickside is they're probably still at work potentially for those that do work. So it's not ideal for them, but obviously as you move further west, it gets better and better sort of stuff. So sorry, move further east, it gets better and better. So it depends on where you are, but generally everyone got sort of like 4 good reasonable periods where they could have the opportunity to get some. Whether they actually had a chance to get some is a different issue, because there was a lot of people doing bounty this time, I thought, in my world anyway.
Yeah, I think Saturday morning, US time anyway, Saturday morning, Kickside time would have been 3 a.m. I think there's one missing there.
Oh, was there another one? Was there?
I think there was, because when I got on in the morning on Saturday, someone said like, "Yeah, they already spawned, dude." I was like, "What do you mean they already spawned?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was like 4 hours ago." And I was like, "Well, shit, that's 5 in the morning. What the hell? 5 in the morning for me is 3 in the morning kickside time." So,
but great in Australia.
Yeah,
there's quite a few
there
players.
were. Yeah, I know people were saying in chat that there weren't very many 100s. There were quite a few 100s. It was just a matter of whether you could get them. I happened to be come out of a 99, and right when they spawned, and there was like 4 sitting there right on top of me. And then I was poking around. And so I was able to grab some of those. And then there were a couple that were late at night that I was able to grab. And then depending on the time of the day, if everybody was on, I couldn't find a stinking 100 to save my life. So it wasn't like last time where there was one 100 in like every 5 or 6 locators. There was multiple 100 targets that were out there. In fact, there were some towers that had 2 or 3 of them that were there.
Yeah, the definitely.
See, I've only the entire time I only saw one tower that had more than one 100 on it. And I had like the whole alliance was all looking at the same time. We had spread out through the entirety of Alpha.
I was lucky that Friday sort of one. I managed to grab 7 in one spawn, so I was quite
dang.
Yeah, very lucky. And one of them, in fact, 2 of them paid at the top whack. So I was like that. I got 11.5k.
You're kidding?
No, it was really good.
That's why nobody else in the 200s could get anyone.
I've got a method. It worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rock up at the tower and you get there, and then all you see is.
My luckiest spawn was when I think it was on Friday. Was the one I could actually be there, and I got to hit 3 or 4 100s, and one of them actually moved me like over 5k. So that was great. I went from like 10k to 20k.
Wow, that's good, mate.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I think it was you, Mark, that said that the lower level 89s were actually, in the past, they'd only paid to like 1,600, but people were saying they were getting 3k from them.
Yeah, exactly. Or that's either that, or it was just a glitch on the visuals. But some people were saying they were getting like, 1,600 was what the 89s were kicking out last time. But some people were saying they were getting double that this time. So
yeah.
I hit one and I got 400. What the hell?
Look at the draw, mate.
I've got like one really big bonus. The rest has been like the lowest one. But okay, so moving on. Keeper of the Nexus. Somebody posted this on the Hammer page, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of the person that did it. But this was the FND and gangs. This. Yeah, I did not get a chance to watch it, so I take it was a pretty good battle.
Heck of a fight. Yeah, it was interesting. Unfortunately, obviously for the alliance that was actually at the Nexus, they didn't have many people defending because it was just the wrong time of day, I think it was. But it was pretty awesome to see, I must admit.
Why'd they kill that many megas?
Because they just wanted to kill them all.
Oh, I mean, we did that on one of them too, but you don't like to just break the Nexus. You don't need to do that many.
Yeah, but then they'll come back.
Yeah, George, they were trying to be efficient. They were trying to have fun. It's different.
So I know Ren and George, you guys were in other worlds. How did your Nexuses go? Did you have any major battles in your worlds?
We started one, but no one touched our other 3.
3.
Yeah. Well,
Nice,
I mean, the thing is well, yeah, and that group, I think I've mentioned it before. Like the communication within that alliance is insane. I don't know that I've ever been on where people don't respond to something. So, I think that's one of the things. Like, you can have a really big alliance, but if you guys aren't communicating well, you're never going to hold a Nexus. If you communicate a lot, you're going to be able to hold at least one Nexus
and coin.
Yeah,
because you need to have a lot of fleets there as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of fleet battles going on around the Nexus stuff.
Yeah, I just ignore it from the bounty event because I've got nothing I can do. I mean, yeah, I've got 30 players and stuff, and we can go and take our little ships up there, but they would get obliterated in the first hour. So what's the point? So we just ignore that bit and just carry on doing our own thing. Still got the prizes, so just a bit more extra work. But yeah, okay. It's good. It was good, I must admit, and that was an epic battle.
A couple of bugs. I had heard yesterday that there was still some quirks with the Nexus bonus payout, where some folks were having to deal with customer service on getting those payouts taken out. And I believe it was based on if you had left the Nexus after the event before the payout or something along those lines. So they're still working with those.
If you had lost the Nexus.
Lost the Nexus, okay.
For some reason, if after the event, if your alliance decided, hey, let's go and, we're all going to meet in one Nexus, and you let go of the Nexus that was the golden Nexus, if you hadn't claimed it before you guys let go of the Nexus, you wouldn't be able to claim the bounty.
There was some post about you must claim now, wasn't there? I saw a couple of things saying don't forget to claim X, Y, and Z sort of stuff.
No, that was for the drip.
Drips.
The drip, if you whatever drip you claimed before bounty ended, you claimed. But if you had, let's say, 100 bounty per Nexus accumulated, a minute over bounty was over, you couldn't claim that anymore. That was the warning they had.
That was an issue too.
Yeah, good to see though that they put that message out there.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a bit of a quirk that was kind of in our favor. Some of the defense bonuses were paying out 400 instead of the 200 for the hits.
That was random, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did some testing, and because someone was saying, well, if they do 25%, that's when you get the 400. If it's just like a gunboat hit, you only get 200. And I'd put some screenshots up. No rhyme or reason. I could never, I'd get 4 that were perfectly fine, and then bang, all of a sudden one would pay the 400. And another issue that was still going on, which I'm still not exactly sure what was causing it, is some folks, when they went through the daily reset, ended up with a negative bounty amount shown on their account. From what I have seen from comments, once they brought that back up to the 0, it then reset them and kind of gave them an extra checkpoint. But I know there were at least 3 or 4 people that had that show up.
Oh, right. That's annoying.
Yeah. Okay. Prize review again. We touched on this earlier. 95,000 for the top prizes. I didn't and wasn't going to sit there and grind and hit bases for all of them, so I kind of skipped the CICs, and I ended up, I think, with about 67,000. But I was happy with that. I was able to get the hulls and that kind of stuff. But if you either have to grind a whole bunch of targets to do it, and you have to be able to hold on to what you get either through base hits or through the jackpots. But it was just a very high hill to climb for a lot of people.
Do you not think it's creeping towards raid points again now already?
It's already past it.
Yeah, it's
for the
time and the effort, it's just too much.
The scale for the pricing is different, and I think it's already well past what how we go for raids. And I mean, part of the problem is as well is again, it's going to go back to how strong your alliance is, because we would go and prep people that had a ton of bounty, and we'd go in and take their bounty because they only have X amount of hours before that bubble drops again, right? So someone can go in and prep and go, hey, here's the timer, go in and whack them in 4 hours.
4 hours time, yeah.
And
exactly.
You don't have enough time to repair anything.
Yeah.
If you're offline, you're screwed. Even if you're online, you're going to have to coin either your base or your guard or both.
Continuously. They can just keep going back and prepping.
Yeah.
And they lose nothing.
Yeah. And so, I think part of this makes it, I think part of it makes a gap grow even bigger than it has in the past more quickly.
I don't think I have to have everything as soon as it's released. You guys are right. I mean, bounty is a lot more competitive than a raid. I mean, a brand new hull in a raid is maybe 40 million points for a flagship. If you can hit elites, you go there, you hit probably 2, 4 or 5 elite sets, you get a flagship. Now, to get 45,000 bounty for the 3 onslaughts, that's a crazy amount of points. It's a lot of work.
And then it's obviously 5, and the CICs, or obviously the attack modules that went on as well.
Yeah.
You didn't just have to attack module. You go
no,
there.
I'm just saying, just for the whole. But, but then you think how fast it loses value, because the Boulder Fist last bounty was how much? 40?
Yeah, 36 or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
And now it's 10K, so it's like I'm gonna wait a month.
Oh, not only that, but
probably I'm gonna be able to get onslaughts next month for 10K.
And then they roll over into the raid.
Yeah, and they also you don't have as much fun with them after either.
Yeah, but the point inflation is
devaluing.
crazy. I think, power creep is point creep is real. Sorry, George. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm between the point creep and the fact that the hull's value is not as long as they had said, or had tried to indicate it was going to become. I'm not a fan of bounty.
Yeah. Now Sunday was crazy. I remember somebody from my alliance actually posted a screenshot. They hit a single base on Sunday, and scored 21,000 bounty from that base.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah, because you could only bank, I think, at 57K on Sunday, right? Checkpoint 5.
Yep.
This guy probably was at 40-something K bounty, unsecured. They, broke the base, and the guy got 21K from one base.
Yeah.
Wow.
When bounty ended, I was at I think 42,000 unsecured.
You imagine someone broke your base and went back again because it was your nighttime and went back again in 4 hours and just left one oil rig untouched or one building.
Yep.
Well, I was doing
and
a lot.
Exploited that.
I was
that's again, but that's what I mean by it depends on it's going to imbalance it towards the alliances that are very active. It's not and I mean that part of that's great. It's fair because they're very active. They're very, very active within the group and within the game, but at the same point, that leaves other people out in the dust if they're playing with, alliance mates that are around the world and there's only 2 or 3 of them on at a time. That's going to happen to them all the time. You're not going to be able to defend those bases.
There's 2 things that annoy me with bounty. There's playing a game and there's playing the game. And this is one of those events where you can play the game.
Yep.
If you know what I mean.
That's what I was recommending for the lower level. Stick everything inside your base so that you don't have your dock or your oil rig out on the outside.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
So that when the big fleet comes in and smashes you, that you're completely dead, so that you don't get nicked again later on in 4 hours. Could you just go back one, Mark?
Sorry, yeah.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to touch on some of the prizes. Again, there were, as usual, lower points as well as higher points. The one thing that I did like about this was they went ahead and included the Conquest Yard build tokens. So people had the opportunity to get 5 one-days, and I think that's the first time that we've seen structures before, and we've seen the 12-hour ship build token, but this was a new thing that was put in there.
I'll tell you what's interesting. It's funny how. No, it's not funny how. I'm pleased that when you make a comment about something that's really, really imperative in the game, it actually just gets picked up on and it actually comes into the game literally within 48 hours to I don't know if it was just habit or whether it's just whatever, I don't know, but somebody definitely responded to some requests. There was requests on various pages. We made a request also this time last week, and then literally for bounty it came on. So
yeah, well, and then there was
timing, I don't know, but it was nice to see.
Yeah, and then even better was the 2 7-day tokens. I think was for 90 coins.
Yeah, it was very. I think that was probably a cracking deal for people who want to get ahead and don't mind spending a little bit, because in the long term you could be able to build 2 ships and that sort of stuff and start collecting titanium. But prizes were good. Quite reasonable and good for people to catch up as well. Right, let's look at this week's updates then. So skirmish targets transitions. Okay, so these are basically some of the previous raid format targets. The 75 we've just done tested itself. It's if we went and did that previous TLC, I think it's target number 3. When we sort of you have to go right out round to the left and then up around the top. There's a fleet at the top where you have to hit a glut first, and then it's sort of it's not a horrendous target, and you can actually. It's just slow. I think it's going to be slower to get uranium now. Targets are much bigger than the other ones. But yeah, so just remember, as ever, the deal out if you're in teal is terrible. And is 33,500? Is that still what was it before? Was it the same amount? Can't remember. For uranium payouts, I can't remember what the top level was, but anyway, 75 is the top one.
102, wasn't it?
102, yeah, paid over 40K uranium per 102.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, these ones are 30.
My main concern is just timing. I mean, my Tide Seekers on auto could finish a 75 in less time than the Hunters can finish an 85.
Yeah,
Laredo
isn't the top level target. Yeah, I was going to say, Laredo's just said the same thing there. There is another one to replace the 102 yet. But
but I'm just trying to compare apples to apples, right? If I had my Tides going hard at 75s, I could probably finish 575s in the time my hunters will finish 385s on autopilot. So if I sit down for a few minutes and I try to fill up uranium, it's just going to take me longer. Or if I don't have longer, I'm going to end up with less uranium for the same seat time. And you keep saying that seat time is a problem. It takes 12 hours a week just to do these chores on auto and FM, like the boring stuff. And there's no time to play anymore. And you keep saying that for like over a year now, and the chores keep increasing overall.
Yeah,
it's like we're saying, yeah, give me more chores. I need more seat time.
Part of it is the time itself, and part of it is the tuning for the map. Because when all this started with the raid targets going to the map, we were told that they were going to be tuned for the map, right? And they really haven't. And I actually came across a post by Doom when I was doing some research a couple days ago, and it was actually with regard to the amount of time the FM change back then was taking. And he was very clear that it was never intended to have this become like a chore where it takes up that much time of playtime. They wanted the playtime to continue. And it was a very striking change from what they had stated to what is actually, happening. I mean, the FM, we've invested in these fleets. We have the top line stuff. We had to refit, we escalated, and I still have to spend how much time running through, the 115s, which are, going to change in March. So sometime between now and March, I have to build a new garrison fleet or FM fleet, and I still haven't finished my Hydras. Hell, I don't think I've finished my Buccaneers technically.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is just sitting in the back of my mind all the time. What's going to happen to the FM in March? So I must admit, it's
yeah, I have a plan for my Hydras.
Anyway, okay, so yep, that's the transition. Like I said, the top level target is not there yet. It'll be coming out later. So bear in mind then, so
just
2 weeks overlap, by the way. So old and new targets are there. I don't hit any of these personally. I must admit, this is not the way I collect uranium personally. So, but that's if this is your go-to option, then it's going to take you longer. Sorry, Robin.
No, that's okay. You kind of touched on it. I was just going to say that even though they're changing over these targets, and if you are not ready for these targets, the DRAC bases are still there, so you can still get uranium from there for now. Yeah.
Cool. Right.
I mean, Ren and I were talking about an aspect of that change earlier, and do you want to mention that, Ren, about the coincidence about the change in expeditions as well?
I didn't want. I don't know if you have a slide on expedition, but just on that point, at the same time they make the uranium chore longer, they released these new expedition cards, and I just did one. Mark, did you put that somewhere?
I've got a card on expeditions. Yeah, I've got one. So
yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there.
We can wait. Yeah, we can wait.
Managed to get that in, but
it's still falling short, but it kind of makes up for it a little bit. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So this would just say that in the FM, okay, their new prize pool 4, there are 2 new, obviously, Conqueror/Defender armors. They're priced at a reasonable rate, so everyone can go and get them. You don't have to do a massive amount to go and collect these. There was nothing else new this week apart from these were placed, I think, in a good place in tier 4 and not higher. We're going to have a little discussion about them and about the implications of them and using them in a moment. But they're there. The fixed time is nicely.
Liked the price.
Yeah, the price was 350, wasn't it?
350.
Like
Yep.
So 350 for each one. So yeah, so obviously there's 2 different types and that sort of stuff, and they have obviously 2 different groups of obviously deflection that they deal with, or 3 on each one actually, to be honest. But there's a so what that comes in a minute. But just note then the thing that I'll just say quickly: the equipment cap has been confirmed. Look, and it's there. It was in the previous week as well, but it's 3, so maximum of 3 of each per ship. If you really want to get that carried away, but we'll move on to that in a moment. Right. So yeah, expedition cards. So timely. So there's the uncommon ones. Remember, there's always been the coming soon stuff as well. So we'll see these coming out this week periodically, not all the time though. So lower chance of appearing, but they have higher payouts. So you just got to be on at the right time. So more sort of that, if you're lucky, you're on the right time, that gamble thing again. Games seems to be going the
But it changes every hour, so you just go in and check and wait for the right one to pop up.
Yeah, it's just another encouragement thing to keep you logged on, sitting in that chair, though, isn't it?
Work.
Yeah, that funny word. Yeah, the one that actually pays the bills. Yeah, but yeah. So it's more luck pirates, lotto pirates.
By the way, that last piece of information that the new information panel shows what each card can generate over a 7-day. That's so broken.
Yeah, I don't believe it's correct because I've clicked on a couple of ones. As soon as you actually start it, it says something completely different.
It's far from correct. I mean, the one I hit just on the first round, it's going to pay me 108,000 uranium. And the panel there said, over 7 days, it's going to pay you a minimum of 27,000. 27,000 minimum 7 days. I'm getting 108,000 in the first round. I mean, that's totally crazy and wrong.
Well, isn't it
whatever? Who cares?
Times 5? It's 20 times 5 is the 500 bonus, right?
Yeah.
It's just not showing it right. Is that what it is?
No. I tried doing some math to see if that's what it was. It's just unrelated. It's a number that's far, far, far below what you're actually going to get in the first round. But it says you get that for the whole 7 days if you don't touch the fleet. So the whole 7 days, you should think about the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, however many you fit in 7 days, right? Because at that point you did the battle, so you have the multiplier. Like in my case, every 1 day, 11 hours, the fleet will come back. So, okay, 1 day, 11 hours times 500 bonus, then 1 day, 11 hours times 250, blah, 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 you add up to something. It should add up to something more like 250,000. Instead, it tells me, you're going to get 27,000.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, you stop it then, don't you, and go and do something else instead. I do anyway. So, well, I tend to ignore the fleet that's in there and just pretend I haven't got it. But anyway, yeah. So the random ones are going to turn up. You got to keep refreshing to get the best deals, that sort of stuff. So just sit in your seat until you get the right one. Or maybe log on your phone.
Yeah, if you check in a few times a day to hit some FM targets, then hit some bases, then chat a little bit, just remember to open the expedition screen. See if you see something cool in there. I did it today, and for uranium, I saw one that I'm like, okay, that's kind of worth it. So I did it.
Okay, there you go. Expeditions anyway. So they're on the way out. TLC that's come in. Good and bad things about it. So, like I say, it allows you to earn the Hydra Seas Cruiser hull, and it's 3 CICs. If you didn't collect them in the raid, then obviously you can get them through this TLC. Run through 1 and 2. Okay, notice you can use Hunters or the Fangtooths. Okay, to get the weapons and hull. Okay, so there's the prizes for obviously numbers 1 and 2, as it says. 3 and 4, however, though, you're going to need both fleets. I hate this concept, but there we go. You need to have both fleets, or you're just not going to be able to continue it. So if you did want to get some more charged armors and you've only got the 1 fleet, you're stuffed. Okay, so I'm going to get 4 extras, and many people won't be getting 4 extra. And the CIC, well, I've already got the CICs, but there's CICs there which some people didn't manage to collect and didn't get enough points. So, yeah, the S targets are going to be in there, so bear that in mind. Level 50.
Yeah.
This actually goes on for not quite 2 weeks. It's 13. I think it was 13 days, 12 hours when they started it, but obviously it started straight away. So there's about 13 days, 6 hours left or something like that.
And as noted, there are set tokens and no more of the chests.
Yes.
Where you get random tokens. So now that I'm deaf, so there's a total of, I think, what is it, 9 days total if you go through all the mastery rounds.
Yeah, I'll be smashing this one out because that's almost half a ship, if not 3/4 of a ship, isn't it? So it's quite decent. But notice what the tokens are for, okay? Because you can't use them for everything. So just plan ahead. I'm not really worried about VXP tokens because I'm done with that. But definitely the Price Pack 3 and Price Pack 4 is definitely good.
I heard people posting on the TFC page that Pack 1 is kind of glitched because everyone should have to go Pack 1 for that VXP token. But then at the end, the modal that says campaign completed was not awarding the VXP token. So if that's the case, I was just going to encourage folks, if you can take a screenshot showing full screen of the game date and time on your computer, or if you do videos, record the end of the end of pack 1, because if you don't get the 5,000 VXP and you want to fight for it with support, the more you have, the better.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm not sure that it's not giving it to you. It's just that when you get out of the battle, since 2 is automatically done, you're actually getting credited with 1 and 2 when you get the pop-up. I think that's what's happening, but I didn't check.
Yeah, but again, since it's kind of messed up, just take a screenshot or record it, just to be safe.
Yeah. So I mean,
because quality.
Yeah, reiterate that point then. Obviously, clearly you're going to go straight from 1. You've got to start at 1. Okay, so you've got to go through that. You will jump to 3 if you've already got 2, because you'll just get a bypass there. So that's some bonus, I suppose. But bear in mind, you jump then from a target that you can do with either fleet to a target straight away, or next round that you've got to use both fleets. So anyway, it's there. I'm glad it's there. I'm not saying I'm not glad it's there. It's just that I still think it's another kick in the teeth for those individuals that went one way or another. So
it seems I scared someone's cat. I'm sorry for that. Didn't mean to.
That's awesome. It isn't, but it is.
So there was only supposed to be one balance and bug fix at the moment, which was fix a bug that caused the icebreakers to fail and then stop at the correct moment during combat. Yeah, that's been annoying me consistently.
Yes, I'm so happy this is done.
Yeah. Icebreakers are actually doing all right again now, to be honest, since the rollback and since this fix. But yeah, that's working all right, to be honest.
That's how I do my FM, icebreakers.
Yeah, but there's a couple of other things that's going on. So there's a couple of in-game bugs at the moment since the update. That thing about SOSing, if someone comes and trashes your dock or trashes your thing, you go to fix your fleet up and that sort of stuff, and you get an SOS. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, you can't launch either. That's been happening. And then
Mark, just so people maybe understand what's happening is, if your dock is damaged and you coin the repair, or it's just a bit of damage and repair sooner, you still got to wait the full 2.5 hours, which would be the full normal repair time, so you can launch fleets. In the meantime, it kind of ignores that you coined or that it finished earlier or that you use a repair token. You just get an SOS saying that you got to repair your dock before you can launch, even though it's repaired. You come back 2.5 hours later, and it's working again. It's a bummer, but Kix is aware and working on it. We got acknowledgement from our dear CM Rampage.
So if somebody's about to come and hit you and they're threatening you, then just go and rocket their dock, and then and they can't get the base.
Take them out for 2.5 hours.
And then go back in 2 hours, rocket them again. That is really going to annoy some people, isn't it? I shouldn't have said that. That's the wrong thing to say. Right.
We have Mark's coordinates available at the end of the show if anybody is interested.
I'm not launching nothing. I'm going to sleep in a minute.
And all the folks who always wanted to start a boycott for Battle Pirates, just go around and rocket everyone's docks. And
no one can play. No one can play. Yeah, exactly. There'll be nothing going on. You could really ruin someone's day by doing that, couldn't you? If you don't fix it, that would really, really annoy some people.
We may force them to talk to their wives. Imagine that.
No way. Stop it. And the other thing at the moment, which Robin picked up on, actually, the locator issue. There's if you click on your alliance, there's nobody in it because you've got no friends, apparently. Is that right, Robin?
No friends and no alliance mates.
Oh dear, made me smile, that one. And then no recent attackers. So apparently we're all angels, but no one likes you.
Mark.
Yeah.
A person in chat asked about Siege Battery being fixed, and as just an update, as far as I know, it has not been fixed yet. Kixeye is working on a fix. It's promising us a fix before yet.
Oh, we lost a bit of your mic there.
Did everybody? Okay, I was gonna say, did everybody lose him or not? Yeah, it's just they've promised to fix before the next raid, but I haven't heard anything about it being fixed either.
So live in the game it's not gone through. They've done some background testing and they're still on time, they reckon, to get it fixed ready for the raid. But let's prove the pudding's in the eating, and until it's actually in, and we've noticed that the statistics are just as good with, in fact, better with Siege Battery 4 as compared to the other turret defense mechanisms, because Siege Battery 4 should be the best about giving damage as well. So we'll wait and see.
I was just reading the bit where Nobby just sent that to your wife. So you're in trouble, Mark.
Oh dear. I know you wouldn't anyway. And she doesn't read Facebook, so it doesn't matter. Oh dear, she's fast asleep, bless her. Right, okay, moving ahead.
He drugs her so he can do the show.
Been doing this far too long now. She's just like, good night, I'm off. Right, let's not have a look at that quickly. Let's have a look at that first, okay? So this, I was reading, sorry. So let's start back at the top. So, yeah, I was doing the understand phase. Okay, so if you hadn't seen this before, we've put it on the page and it was linked to the top of our page for a while. So GDR did hint that he was going to do a nice, long, typical GDR post all about Tier 7 holes and most specifically the new armors that have coming out, obviously released in Tier 4 this week in the FM, and the impact if you were going to fit one or two onto a set, whether it be attacker or a defender, and the implications of doing that. And the implications of doing that is all based around deflection and most importantly, pass-through. Now, Ren's done a little slide, which I sort of...
Whoa, wait.
Go on.
Are you trying to tell me we are getting proper communication from Kickseye on something?
We're getting proper communication from a member of their team.
Wow, so a member of their team actually cares and treats the players as adults with respect and is explaining things to us? It's so cool. I mean, it's such a different approach.
You're a sarcastic devil, do you know that? Anyway, in true GDR form, okay, then it does go on a little bit, but he basically does sort of like break it down in you know, for some great little examples. So what Ren likes is the fact that he actually does it in little paragraphs and actually puts punctuation in, which is quite handy. So the nuts and bolts of it, you know, it does go on a little bit, and I can show you, look, he does take care in making sure that he's covered all aspects. I did say it went on a little bit, but it is worth a really good read and making sure you understand it, because it's not all bad. I quite like what they've done in some respects. In fact, in many respects. So what they've done is basically said, this monster armor, you can't put it on an old ship and just treat it as if you're just going to go take out a new ship. It takes the pass-through deflection to the same standard as what you would do with one of the new Tier 7 holes. So the new Tier 7 holes has already got the 360 pass-through value already on it automatically. So you can armor up the new onslaught and you haven't got too many concerns. But it would be a little bit biased if you then had 0 pass-through on the older holes and all of a sudden you load it up with armor and you'd have no concerns, because everybody would be running around with malices and that sort of stuff. So to bring things back in line and moving forward in the game, as eventually those holes will go out, they've put pass-through to a set value. But it does bring in some interesting equations. So I'll flick back quickly if I can find it, and then Ren can discuss this. Over to you, mate.
Okay, so, you know, I just put this together. I'm not telling anybody to build a Rhino. It's just, again, and everybody who has a decent eviscerator or the Chaos Chain Gun knows what to do, and everybody who has a Hope and Flail Rockets knows what to do, I hope. You see? Got a Hope, I hope. Okay, never mind. But this is for the kind of like the level 60s out there who may have an old Zoe Rhino or just a regular Rhino laying around, or even a Mastodon. You could refit that, and I didn't put much thought in this build, so you can criticize me for the specials all you want. The only special that really matters in there is the one in the center, because it gives the extra 30% range to the missiles and it gives them more accuracy. And the one on the bottom left, because that one gives more reload. Okay, so the other stuff you do whatever you want. The one on the top right also gives more reload, but I understand many players may not have it. But the basic idea is the good, very, very old Torrent missiles. They have a salvo of 16, and they do both penetrative and radioactive damage, which if you want to like at least scratch the paint, I'm not saying you're going to be able with that to defeat the Onslaught, because you won't. And keep in mind that the Rhinos will just be destroyed by any sort of splash from a bus. So again, this is just a temporary solution for low levels who want to have a hope in hell of doing some damage to attackers. A bunch of torrents, each one firing 16 salvos. Each salvo is going to do a minimum of 360 pen, 360 red to the Onslaught. If you can get that Rhino to fire a complete salvo, a complete load, you're going to be doing 172,000 damage to any ship equipped with the new armors. So if somebody was fool enough to put the Compound 5 or the D6U armor, let's say, on an Eviscerator, which raised the pass-through from whatever it is to 360, that Zoe Rhino, through remote targeting, can actually kill an entire Eviscerator with one round, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, and pretty smart, because this solution doesn't require you to coin. You can just use very old tech overall to get this done, other than the two specials on the right.
Yeah, so... yeah, in fact, Robin, we'll do that in a second. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. So just to reiterate then, okay, so one volley is what we said, but not one round. One volley of this, okay, as an example, okay, because somebody's up the bypass on their Eviscerator by fitting the wrong armor, hence upping its own pass-through, then this would overweigh it and basically take it out. So just because you've got a stronger hull doesn't mean by putting armor on it now it's going to make it automatically stronger, because there is this pass through which has always been in the game since they've done these sort of like armors. This is nothing new. They haven't just started it. Okay. It's always been there, and they're trying. It's taking a little bit longer, but they're trying to actually write it into the blueprints now as well. So you'll see pass through now as a factor now on the blueprints. It'll state it. At the moment, they're having to adjust an awful lot of blueprints to be able to do it. So
and just what you said, Mark. Since the inception of Battle Pirates, every single weapon always had a built-in pass-through value. I mean, very early in the game, that value would be 1, 2, 5. In more recent times, 100, you know, for I think the radioactive plates were actually higher than 100. But as you touched on that point, it's never been published. And now for the first time, we have a game designer coming out and saying, guys, this is at least for the tier 7 hull, the Onslaught, and for the 2 new armors, and for the 2XQ mortar, he's saying the pass-through for them is 360. And this is more than the previous generation of hulls had. So if you use these armors everywhere, it may actually backfire when you face high salvo, fast reload weapons, such as the Chaos Chain Gun, the Flail Rockets, or the good old Torrent missiles. And so I'm just saying, people, good tactics is use high salvo, fast reload to counter that. That's it.
Yeah, there are Robin. So you were saying about the high count versus the kick it. So that's basically it. So bear in mind, we have some weapons out there that do huge amounts of damage, massive amounts of damage. But the problem is, if their damage is so much greater than 360, but they've got a low reload, or there's not enough salvos, then you're not going to do as much damage as a weapon that's lighter, that's got a higher salvo rate and a quicker reload. So you really need to go back and look at your blueprints, and it makes it far more interesting, I think, to be honest. A much more interesting game. And as soon as we get those figures onto the blueprints where it shows the pass-through, as Rhino said, it was a secret. It wasn't a secret. Well, was it a secret? Probably was a secret. I don't know. But at least we're now going to get them explained to us, and they're going to be on blueprints moving forward. The point is, ships are stronger. Of course they are. The game has developed over the last 7+ years. So the pass-through blanket amount for tier 7 hulls going forward is 360. So they brought the other hulls up to match that. The problem is the other hulls, the earlier ones, T6s, 6.5, that sort of stuff, don't have the the natural defensive stats that what the tier 7 does. So which is quite logical.
Well, wait, they didn't bring up the older hulls to a new.
Well, it will do if you fit the armor.
If you fit the armor, yeah, but that's the pass through on the armor.
Yeah.
So we have the minimum damage values of weapons, the minimum damage allowance of hulls and armors, and what happens is the game actually takes the largest of those to use as the pass through value.
So yeah, so that's the minimum. I mean, it's just basically I class it as minimum damage number. That's all it is as far as I'm concerned. So you know, just be cautious. But it just makes it for a really, you know, that intuitive piece, and it's putting it back into the eye of the user again, where you can go, oh look at this, I can use this and I can use that, and it's going to bring an awful lot of stuff back into the game. Some real old stuff, some tech that's like 5 years ago. And bring it back into the game and make it worthwhile. I mean, we were literally just before we came on, which is why we're a little bit late. We were looking through lots of different blueprints and going, "Oh, what about that? And what about that?" It's, you know, it's alliance business as far as I'm concerned. It's PvP, but you know, you really,
and you know, I think it's great to be able to outsmart stuff instead of having to coin refits quickly to be able to survive. I much rather have that kind of game.
Yeah.
Or being boxed into where, you know, there's only one weapon that you can use against an onslaught. Now you've got multiple choices, a combination of newer hulls with different weapons and even older hulls with different weapons.
Exactly, because think about it. The alternative to that, with an armor that gives you 64,000 deflection, and you can stack 3 of them. So in theory, you could have 190,000 deflection against every damage type. They'll have to release the Chuck Norris cannon next to be able to beat things, you know, but which would immediately invalidate everything else in game that is not equipped to that new technology. And that was the bad pendulum swing we had all over 2017 and complained about every single month.
I mean, this
is a lot smarter.
Yeah, this is a smarter way of doing it. Now, for me, this goes. Remember the old days we used to build specific fleets just for like prepping? Can you imagine doing a very strong ship coming in, but it's got a really low weapon damage count for buildings and that sort of stuff? But this one ship will actually go out and you can just bring it in after you prep some of the front ends, you know, some of the traps and stuff, and it slides around and it's got a massive salvo rate. And all of a sudden, it just takes out that guard ship, you know, that one particular guard ship. So you run it around right to the back again, save it, and then you bring forward the one that takes out the buildings, and then you slide that back and bring it. You know, it really does bring in the old school prepping concepts, you know, or somebody in your alliance will just have a prep fleet and go, I'll do that section for you. You know, he does his little bit, and then his fleet couldn't kill a building, but it can certainly kill guard ships, you know. So we used to do that before. You used to have some brilliant fun doing that, and that's where you get the real technical hitters. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is a great thing. Sounds very complicated, but it's just a refresh of what was always been in the game, and going back to things like MCXs and that sort of stuff. It's what we always did. It's just put it back in, and then they're showing you the real figure. That's all they're doing. They're saying there's the pass-through figure. It's going to be on the blueprint soon. So yeah, and I also see just for me to finish off, I see a Ren video very soon.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a bunch of posts that Uncle Ren has done on the page, and in fact has taken the time to give hulls and which of the new armors will work well on, which ones won't work well on, as well as some of the older hulls. So if you've not taken the time, or if you're still trying to digest all of this, you know, take a couple minutes and go on the page and take a look at some of the posts that have been put out there. And George has done an article, but there's a lot of information that's out there. I will admit I had to read it like 4 or 5 times before it started to sink in, but there's a lot of examples out there, and you know, people have taken the time to put that out there, and I think it's very helpful to see what they've done.
Yeah, so the last little bit is summary at the bottom, what GDR's put there. So if you want to play safe, then obviously, you know, defense versus resistance, that's your PvE stuff, and then damage type deflection is your PvP. You can play around with it, because a lot of people have been playing around with different armors, going, oh, but this happens to work in this. I wouldn't go down that avenue for PvP at the moment if I was you, and don't go trying to go the other way around, because it just won't work. But yeah, it's interesting. And as he says there, going against the grain will definitely do it. You'll have to do it at your own risk. So it probably isn't the wise thing to do. But it does open the game up. You've got more options now, without a doubt, and you have the use of a lot of weapon systems. You know, there's some real D33DR, and there's some unusual things out there that go, oh, hang on a minute, you know, that could be interesting. You know, it's got a slowdown effect, and it's got a low recycle, a reload count, and that sort of stuff. Not a high salvo, but you know, for a weapon that does virtually no damage, it's now going to do a minimum of 360 every time it goes off, and also slow a ship down. So it may help you or may not help you. That's just one example, but there are many out there, and actually a lot better ones as well.
Now, it's very funny to think that a ship equipped with a bunch of Reaper 1 cannons will do more damage than a Hyena turret against that new stuff. And I think that's the challenge people are having in wrapping their heads around that concept, that beach slapping your enemy 50 times per second is a lot more effective than a beautifully executed roundhouse kick, you know.
Yeah, so just be concerned about things like, you know, I don't know how the mechanics are going to work yet. Thrower things, you know, how does that mechanic work? You know, it lets off its damage over a period of time, that sort of stuff, but it's only one salvo, so be cautious. You know, there are certain things that are splash based, so they haven't actually got to hit the ship, they have to hit the area. Your ship's in the area, it takes the damage. So there are a lot of things to consider. As I've said, I personally think that's where alliances come really strong, and they can talk to each other, and that's where the knowledgeable players who group together in the same alliance, you do get that advantage. That's the whole idea of an alliance. So what to do and how to fit it, it's going to make it an awful lot more difficult, which is why we don't tend to show many PvP builds examples on the TFC, because A, I don't think it's quite right, but B, there are now going to be so many different sort of versions of the same hull, depending on the type of base you're going to be attacking, because you need to know what's going to be the thing at the other end. There's no point saying, you build this ship, when the defending ship he's got in there, you're not going to be able to scratch it. So it's going to make a huge transition now but it's actually just taking the game back as far as I'm concerned. So I quite like it. I think it's great. Anyway, okay. What else then? Anybody?
I think we got it.
We've done. Good. Excellent. Right, I can stop sharing now. On the hour, not too bad. In fact, a little bit early. There's a first time for everything, isn't it? Anything else you want to cover while we're here? Nothing at all? If not, we'll finish. No, good. Right. I'll say thanks for tuning in, everybody. Okay, thanks for those coming into chat. There's some really good topics, and I can see that change is definitely sort of like livened up chat, and people have got their brains now, grey matters ticking away. So have a good week. Have a good go with that TLC. Have a look at those obviously uranium targets. Let's see what you think about it. And for those that are around at the weekend, then obviously there will be an open mic. Feel free to join in, and let's see how you've been getting on this week in Battle Pirates. Okay, take care. All the best.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.